There's a massive new twist to the CAA debate. The DMK, the ruling party in Tamil Nadu, has now moved the Supreme Court, claiming that the CAA is discriminatory because it only makes provision for persecuted minorities in 3 Muslim countries, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. It eliminates the possibility of Sri Lankan Tamil Hindus who have suffered at the hands of the majority Sinhala Buddhists from gaining citizenship through the CAA. This is the basic contention of the DMK petition that's been moved in the Supreme Court. But the BJP is claiming that for all these years, for the last 2.5 years since this legislation was introduced in Parliament, the DMK has been opposed to it. Why are they suddenly now seeing virtues in the CAA? So this is turning out to be a full-on political battle between the BJP and the DMK. But there are wider consequences and wider ramifications, all of which we will get to in just 1 second. But first, the story of why the ruling party in Tamil Nadu, which was so far shying away from this controversial piece of legislation, is now moving the Supreme Court, asking that the ambit of the CAA, if indeed it is going to become law, then it be widened to Sri Lankan Tamil Hindus, who are some of whom are refugees in this country.
The tussle over the Citizenship Amendment Act is back in the spotlight. DMK has moved the Supreme Court, calling CAA arbitrary, anti-Tamil and against fabric of secularism. In its affidavit, DMK has stated that CAA ignores the reality of Tamil refugees who've settled in India. These Tamil refugees are deprived of their rights due to non-citizenship, lack of jobs. Access to basic rights and amenities has left these refugees handicapped. They're forced to stay in camps where they're often exploited. Requests for citizenship by these Tamil refugees have fallen on deaf ears of the centre.
Because they don't want Muslims and Tamils to come back to India, because they are anti-Tamils, anti-Muslims.
The CAA was passed by the Parliament in December 2019 and allows non-Muslim minorities in Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan to acquire Indian citizenship in order to escape persecution in their home countries. Governments in Tamil Nadu and Kerala have questioned CAA right from the start, claiming that the law is against constitutional secular principles. But the centre has maintained that CAA does not violate any fundamental right.
We should first of all understand what is CAA. It is meant for those who suffered in Pakistan while India got partition.
So is DMK's move a question of parity, or is it simply politics?
All right, let me go across to our guests who are joining us now. Narayanan Tirupati is Vice President of the Tamil Nadu BJP, A. Saravanan, spokesperson of the DMK, Suman C. Raman, political analyst, will be joining us, and Ramaswamy Meyyappan, advocate, joining us as well. Saravanan, let me start with you first. For the last 2.5 years, since this bill was brought in Parliament and this law was talked about, the CAA, your party has been opposing it. Now you're saying expand or widen the ambit because this doesn't cover Sri Lankan Tamil Hindus. I mean, what is the logic of opposing a bill for the last many years and now saying expand it to include Sri Lankan Tamil Hindus? Surely the Sri Lankan Tamil Hindus have not been as persecuted as Hindus in Pakistan or Hindus in Bangladesh over many, many centuries and generations.
Maybe that is your view, Zaka. We cannot have guidelines, or we cannot have what are the specifications to which how they are persecuted. Persecution is persecution. This is one thing. See, we were opposing this CAA mainly on the principle that it discriminates on the basis of religion. We opposed it in the Parliament. This is a humane legislation. When we speak about humanity, can we say that we will give this kind of humanity to people belonging to one particular religion? We will exclude people on the basis of religion. This is foul of our constitution.
No, but Saravanan, the persecution of these people is basis their religion. Even Sri Lankan Tamil Hindus, to buy your argument, they were persecuted because they were Tamil Hindu. They were not Sinhala Buddhist. So if the persecution is basis religion, then the law that gives them citizenship can also be based on religion, because the persecution is based on religion.
Yes, you are right. When we say that persecution is based on religion, that is why I said it is a humane legislation. We cannot restrict that this is the only way we will look at persecution. That is the problem. How can we say that somebody else there is not persecuted because of their religion? That is one point. The other thing, when we're coming into the Sri Lankan Tamils issue, the important point is this. They are all Tamil Hindus. They have been persecuted by the majority Sinhalese. So definitely they will fall into this. Why are you denying them this opportunity?
Okay.
So what is your idea? Your idea is to pander only to a certain group of people.
Okay, so let me ask Narayanan
water
Tirupati
base.
that. Sri Lankan Tamil Hindus, and it's been well documented, have been persecuted by the Sinhala majority, largely during the 30 years of the Civil War and even now in the after effects of the Civil War. Why are you not allowing them to seek refuge in India and seek citizenship under the CAA? I mean, it's double standards. Persecution can't just be in Bangladesh, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Persecution has happened in Sri Lanka also.
Zaka, I am one way I am very happy that at least now DMK talks about having some concern on Hindus, because normally they hate Hindus, they hate Hindu gods and goddesses, and they abuse Hindu religion.
We have
but suddenly
BJP
the
is
love
a party.
for
BJP is
have
a
some manners.
No.
Have some
When
manners.
you say that,
Zaka,
you got
Okay,
to-
one at a time, please. Saranan, when you spoke, Mr. Tirupati did not interrupt. So let's go one by one, please. Let's extend each other basic courtesies.
I know
Mr.
DMK,
Tirupati, make your
I know-
point. Yeah. Okay,
I
only
know
Mr.
the
Tirupati
DMK
on
will
frame,
shout
please.
like
Thank you.
this.
Yeah.
I know the DMK will shout like this. Okay.
No, but
fine.
please stick to
See,
the
what
issue.
has
Sri
happened-
Lankan Hindus are less Hindu.
Pardon me, what is that, Zaka?
No, I asked you a question. Why are you not extending the same to the Sri Lankan
Yeah,
Hindus?
Zaka,
They are as
the-
persecuted as Bangladeshi Hindus or Pakistani
Zaka,
Hindus.
the issue is totally different. The love for Sri Lankan Tamils for DMK is really astonishing. See, from 1984, these people are coming as refugees. What was DMK doing right from 15 years they were in rule? What have they done? Nothing. In fact, they were responsible along with Congress for the killings of 1.5 lakhs Tamils. We need to understand this. Suddenly, these people are, now waking up and saying that Sri Lankan Tamils should be, rescued. Now, see, this Sirimao Sastri Pact, which was done in 1960s. This is the ally of DMK, Congress. They only said the time limit has gone and they cannot bring more people from Sri Lanka, and they said it is cancelled and no longer it is valid. And then only in 2003, during BJP government under Atal Bihari Vajpayee, we have very clearly made and saw to it that all these leftover in Sri Lankan Tamils were given citizenship. They are citizens of Sri Lanka. The refugees, as far as the refugees now in India is concerned, it is very clear. It was the move of the Congress government to rehabilitate them into Sri Lanka. We have made a lot of dialogues, and now we are doing the same. So we need to understand that these both are two different issues, and the citizenship bill, what we are planning is, what we have done is, those people belong to India when we were under the British rule. So we need to understand, and this is not the case in Sri Lanka. This is a total issue, and this is a different country altogether.
So let me ask
Sumansi
Sumansi Raman, as per the admission of the Tamil Nadu state government itself in the Supreme Court in an affidavit that they filed earlier this year, there are currently only 58,000 Sri Lankan refugees living in 107 refugee camps across the state of Tamil Nadu. Now the question that's being asked is, of this some amount, a very few number, maybe 3,000, maybe 4,000 of them want to go back to Sri Lanka, the remaining want to live here in India. Now surely, for these 50,000 people, you don't need the provisions of the CAA to seek refuge here in India or to gain citizenship here in India. There's already an existing law under the Citizenship Act of 1955, under which, over the years, many number of people who have sought refuge here in India have become citizens. So why should the DMK be worried about moving the Supreme Court, opposing CAA, saying that it does not recognize or does not give a path to Sri Lankan Tamil Hindus who are living here, who also have had to flee because of religious persecution?
Zaka, first of all, we have to look at the numbers. Why are the Sri Lankan refugees still in refugee camps almost 12, 14 years after the end of the conflict?
War, yeah.
Right? Now, that is the first question we need to ask themselves. So if there was an easy route to awarding them citizenship or some kind of rights here, what has the government done? And mind you, this comes squarely at the central government. It's their responsibility to take it up and do it. So it has not happened. The fact that they are living in refugee camps is a fact
No,
which even the
so
central admits.
one second.
Right.
I'm not holding a brief here for the central government, but DMK, ADMK, both of them have espoused so much concern about Sri Lankan Tamils, and they've been alternately ruling since 2009 when this conflict got over. What have they done to make their case?
Yes,
what have they done to make the
little.
case of the Sri Lankan refugees?
Look, Zaka, there are 2 points here. Whether the DMK has the moral authority to speak on behalf of the Sri Lankan Tamils after having presided over one of the biggest genocides which happened to the Sri Lankan Tamils. They were in power in the center. The Congress government of Dr. Manmohan Singh would have fallen in a matter of hours had they pulled the plug on the government, saying that you should stop the massacre of innocent civilians. They did zilch at that time. So they have got zero moral responsibility or authority to talk on this topic at all, because the greatest betrayal of Sri Lankan Tamils has happened by the DMK. So let's get that out of the way. Having said that, is the CAA fair in the sense that it leaves out? Look, there are 2 issues which are essential to be covered under the CAA. One, you need to be a minority in the country where you are. The second is you need to be persecuted. The Sri Lankan Tamils fit both these criteria. Now, you want to make artificial distinctions saying erstwhile countries which were ruled by British, and then you want to bring in another distinction saying that, they are probably, should be countries where majoritarian governments exist. That's not really part of the law. Instead, suppose the law actually said, we will give non-Muslims who are facing persecution in Muslim countries only will be covered under the CAA. It will be struck down by the courts, and that is possibly the reason why they have not worded it in that particular way, Zaka. But look, let's face facts.
No, it specifically mentions the countries. It mentions Pakistan, it mentions Afghanistan, it mentions... Because it is in these countries where Hindus as a minority have been persecuted by the Muslim majority population, or in this case, Islamic states. Pakistan is a declared Islamic state.
Then the CAA must say that we will offer persecution only to those persecuted by Islamic states and not in other states. As far as I know, the CAA does not explicitly say that it will cover only states.
I want to ask Ramaswamy Meyyappan, what I find quite curious about the DMK's argument and its logic in moving the Supreme Court is, on the one hand, CAA, they are opposed to CAA as a law because it discriminates, because, the whole law is based on religion. The whole framing of the law is there is a certain minority group. That minority group has been persecuted because of a religion. In the case of extending that to the Sri Lankan Tamils, you are using that same logic to extend it to a linguistic minority. So religious minority is an argument that DMK is not willing to buy.
No,
but extending it to a linguistic minority, that's okay.
Zaka,
I mean, whether it's one second, Suman, the issue, the issue is not religious minority or linguistic minority. You are a minority, period, right? That is the basis. That is the basis of the argument.
But Sri Lankan Tamils
if that way, one second. If that way if you were to argue, what basis are the blacks in America minority? They are minority because they are. This is basis race, right?
Race, absolutely.
Absolutely. It has nothing to do with religion or language. They
But
speak
here-
the same language. They follow the same religion as the majority
Your argument
do.
is fallacious.
The point,
Zaka,
no,
your
it's not a
argument is
fallacious
fallacious.
argument. No, one second.
It is a fallacious argument. I'll tell you why.
Zaka, let me come in.
Let me
I'll
ask
tell you
Ramaswamy
why.
Meyyappan. Let
Because
me have him on the
issues-
frame, please.
issues
One
in
second.
Sri Lanka are
There are religious minorities, there are linguistic minorities, there are minorities by ethnicity and race. The point is, the CAA is a law which is basis religious minority that's been persecuted in other countries, right? I don't understand the DMK extending that same logic, opposed to the religious minority classification, but it's okay if you have a group, in this case Sri Lankan Tamils, who are both linguistic minority and religious minority.
See, Zaka, this is only a political game on the part of the DMK. There are 2 phases to it. One, if the DMK considers that the Sri Lankan Tamils are a religious minority, then they should have stated so in their affidavit. The affidavit primarily talks about them being a linguistic minority, and being persecuted in Sri Lanka, and does not talk about religious minority. I'm glad that Mr. Sarnan, as far as he has gone on to state on record today that they are a Tamil Hindu minority in Sri Lanka, and that is the reason that they are seeking today. That being one. Two, the law, let us look at it. The object of the law is to look at countries where we do not have bilateral relations, where we can protect those who came as illegal immigrants to our country prior to December 31, 2014. It's not about someone who's going to come in new. It's about those who have already come into our country illegally. And according to OCHR also, there is a distinction between who are illegal immigrants and who are refugees. Here, the Sri Lankans, we are not talking about refugees. Once again, the law only talks about illegal immigrants. The definition does not go into refugees at all. Let that clarification also be brought out to everyone. And now, going back to the question that you asked, illegal immigrants, why only in these countries were looked at? We did not look at even Burma, where Rohingyas come back, or we're not looking at Turkey, we're not looking at Greece, we're not looking at China. We have had a history of protecting Tibetans here. We also provide space for their government in exile. We also have other similarly placed immigrants who come to India, not only migrants who come for greener pastures, but also refugees who come for other than economic reasons. And if you look at the UN report and the World Bank report, we can track data all the way up to 2021 as to each year how many are recorded in India. So now, all this question that boils down is 18 years in government that was DMK was part of between 1999 and 2014. They did not choose to do anything for the Sri Lankan refugees or for the Sri Lankan illegal immigrants. And they did not choose to act on this basis immediately after the CAA coming into force in 2019. All that starts up is today because they seek for political opportunism.
Okay.
No,
so
even the
let me ask
opportunism.
Saravanan this. I think Ramaswamy Meyyappan made a great point. Tibetan Buddhists who were persecuted by the Chinese state have been given refugee status in this country for a number of decades now. The DMK did not oppose that, saying it's discriminatory, its basis are law, its basis persecuted minorities in another country. So if you are okay with Tibetan Buddhists being given citizenship in this country over a number of decades, since 1959, since the Dalai Lama came here, why should you be opposed to persecuted minorities, Hindus who are coming from Bangladesh, Pakistan, or Afghanistan?
Zaka, it was not done by any legislation. What you are talking, we are talking about a legislation. So we are opposing this legislation.
Hang on. Saravanan, you're a lawyer. You should know this. Tibetan Buddhists are granted Indian citizenship basis the Indian Citizenship Act of 1955. It's a law.
Yes, it is a law. But I am saying here you have brought in a new legislation which excludes, which gives primacy, which gives only importance. It is dealing with only one particular religion. We are saying that itself is wrong. No. That is the problem.
So, Saravanan, that is exactly what I'm asking you. That is exactly what I'm asking you. One second, Mr. Tirupati, one second. I'll come to you in 30 seconds. Saravanan, that's exactly what I'm asking you. Tibetan Buddhists have been given citizenship in this country for a number of decades, basis their religion and basis the fact that they've been persecuted by the Chinese state. They are neither Hindu.
That is what I'm saying,
right?
Zaka,
so why have you not opposed that?
No, Zaka, it is not about opposing anybody else. It is about, this legislation discriminates on the basis of religion alone. You are excluding people belonging to other religion. That is the reason why
I don't get the logic here. Okay, one at a time, Narayan Tirupati, please. Yeah.
Zaka, you have allowed 3 people to speak against me.
No, I didn't. Look, I can't control if they speak over you. I can only try my best. Okay, I'll give you another 30 seconds. Okay, Saravanan, I'll give you another 30 seconds. After that, Narayan Tirupati. 30 seconds. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, because the affidavit says, it just not speaks about race. This affidavit says that Indian Tamils have faced religious persecution as they were predominantly Hindu. They have faced rampant persecution due to their minority status since Ceylon's independence from the British rule.
Okay.
This is what we have stated. And BJP is the most anti-Hindu party India can ever have. They are for the upper caste Hindus, by the upper caste Hindus, for the upper caste.
Okay, Narayan Tirupati respond. Narayan Tirupati respond. Narayan Tirupati respond.
I think Saravanan is thinking that he's on a comedy show. And talking about BJP on Hindus. See, it's very, very clear. Ramaswamy Meyyappan clearly said one thing, that what this DMK was doing all these years. DMK says that from 1984 these refugees are there. What have they done in the last, say, almost 40 years for the Sri Lankan Tamils, except for cooperating with Congress to kill 1.5 lakh Tamils? That is what the DMK has done. And now suddenly these people come and raise that, yes, we are for Tamils. DMK is the most anti-Tamil party in the entire world. They are anti-Tamils. They are anti-Tamils. And it is very, very clear. And now they talk about Hindus. You cannot utter a word about Hindus.
About those killings, you would not have given a red carpet welcome.
Hindu goddesses. You go on abuse Hindu gods and Hindu goddesses, and you go on talk nonsense about each and every Hindu, and now suddenly you are, suddenly.
No. One second. Let me call time on this. One second. Narayan Tirupati. No. One second. Saranam, one second. Narayan Tirupati. I want a very. No. One second. Narayan Tirupati. I want a very clear answer on this. If there is a Sri Lankan Tamil Hindu who has been persecuted, who has been forced to leave Sri Lanka because of his or her religion, can that person avail citizenship of India under CAA or not?
No,
if not, please give me a justification. Why?
It is not possible because this bill, based on Nehru Liaquat Ali Khan Pact, this operates. And it is very clear all these persons are of Indian origin before independence. You have to understand this very, very clearly. Then for this, the DMK has to know some history about India, history about independence, history about the minorities settling in Pakistan. All these things the DMK should understand. Now they want to do some politics.
No. So I'm asking you again, 30 seconds before which I go to Sumant Raman. So if a persecuted Sri Lankan Tamil Hindu wants Indian citizenship, he or she avails the same existing 1955 law, Citizenship Act?
No, see, how is it possible? That's what Ramasamy Mayappan very clearly said. You have bilateral relationship with Sri Lanka, and these people were our people, sir, Indians. Sri Lankan Tamils are different. Sri Lankan Tamils, we have
Suman Raman. So at least Narayan Tirupati has said Sri Lankan Tamils and Indian Tamils are not the same. Okay. Suman Raman.
Yeah, Zaka, before that, I want to point out to Mr. Narayanan, who unfairly said that the DMK has done nothing for the Sri Lankan Tamils. In the final phases of the war, you will recall, Zaka, its leader went on a fast from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You remember it was one of the shortest fasts possibly in history to say, and then at 2 o'clock he said the fast is being wound up because the center has said everything is sort of going to be resolved. And after that, it is estimated that up to 50,000 innocent citizens, civilians, Tamils were bombed into the ground and killed by the Sri Lankan army and the air force. And the DMK, then in power with the Congress, did nothing to stop it. Why are they doing this now? Because they are completely dependent on the minority vote in Tamil Nadu. If the minorities pull the plug on the DMK, the party will not have a chance of coming to power.
But Suman, admittedly, Suman, one second. Admittedly, by the ruling party in Tamil Nadu, in an affidavit filed in the Supreme Court, there's only 50,000 Sri Lankan refugees. That's not going to make a dent in the vote bank. There's only 3%. One second. There's only 3%. One second. There's only 3% or 4% Muslim population in Tamil Nadu. That's not a great vote bank.
Excuse me.
That's not going to keep them in power. The 4% vote bank is not what got them 159 seats.
One second. Zaka, 1 second.
That's what.
The
Zaka,
minority
these are the persons who spew venom on DMK.
One second, Saranan. One second. Saranan, 1 second. Let him make his point. Let him make his point. Suman, make your point. Suman, make your point.
He's not allowing me to speak.
I'm listening. Now make your point.
Zaka, it's very simple, Zaka. The minority population in Tamil Nadu at the last census was estimated to be close to 13%. It is probably closer to 15% now. The DMK gets the overwhelming majority of the minority vote.
Even if you get Suman, 1 second, do the math, 1 second, Suman, do the math. Even if they get all 15% of the minority vote, there's a remaining 85% out there. To say that they got
very
159
good.
seats
Very
by
good.
just getting the 15%
One
minority vote
One
is just
second.
bad math. Forget about bad
No,
politics.
1 second,
Anyway,
Zaka.
I'll give
Zaka,
Ramaswamy
1 minute,
Mayappan the
Zaka,
last
what
word.
was
I've
the
got to wrap
difference?
up, please.
1 minute.
Please allow me,
What was-
please.
Zaka, just
Ramaswamy
one-
You're not
Mayappan,
allowing
the
me to
last
finish
word
my
to
point.
you. The
You're
moot
not
point
allowing
is
me to
this.
finish
No,
my
one second.
point,
The moot
Zaka.
point is
Last
this.
point. One
Parties
sentence,
like the
one
DMK
sentence.
and other opposition parties
One
have
sentence.
opposed this law, saying that religion alone can't be the basis of framing a law. Now, my point is, you already have laws that have religion alone as a basis of law. The Hindu Succession Act is basis religion. The Christian Succession Act is basis religion. The Marriage and Divorce Acts in almost all religions are basis religion. So to say that you can't have laws based on religion or laws that discriminate against one particular community or another particular community, that doesn't stand at least the legal test, because you already have n number of laws that are based purely on religion.
Zaka, I'll probably go a different route because the laws that you specified are primarily personal laws. So let us
Fair
not
enough.
even go into personal laws. Let us look at the statement of objects and reasons provided for the Citizenship Amendment Act. It clearly categorizes that these people historically were Indians, one, and two, the nature of their constitutions. The three countries' constitution, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan, claims them to be Islamic republics. Sri Lanka states that Buddhism, though is a state religion, is only to given primacy, not to derogate other religions and not to disregard others as minorities. And similarly, Myanmar also does the same. Or Burma, as we may know it. Primacy. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Not on
And the statement of objects
won't allow.
politics.
We won't allow.
And there is a history
because
of
of politics in Tamil Nadu.
Constitutional niceties. That is not
and
the
the
point here.
persecution.
The
And the
question is
persecution.
One second, let him answer.
Sri
No, no, let him
Lanka,
answer the
religion.
Ramaswamy
That is the
Mayappan.
basis.
Moot
Yes, they are
question: were they
persecuted.
persecuted or not? Basis their religion.
Yes.
No,
If
the
they say no,
persecution
no,
claimed
no,
even in
it
the
is not.
UNHR resolution that was moved was on the basis that they are a linguistic minority.
Okay.
That is the difference. Let
Okay.
us assume for a moment even that it's on the basis of religion. Even if that assumption is there, the act is not passed on that basis. The act is passed clearly, squarely stating that the state-sponsored religion, the identified constitutional religion, is on the basis, or that's the sole basis. So
Okay.
when that distinction is there, I
All
don't
right.
see any infirmity in the law at all.
I'll leave it at that. We'll wait to see as and when this law is notified and whether or not the Supreme Court takes up this matter to widen the ambit. Remember, it's under challenge in the Supreme Court to whether or not to widen the ambit. But we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much to all our guests, Suman C. Raman, Narayan Tirupati, A. Saravanan, and Ramaswamy Mayappan. Actor Vijay Deverakonda has appeared before the Enforcement Directorate in Hyderabad today. This is in connection with an investigation into foreign exchange violations in the production of his recent movie Liger. In fact, the ED is suspecting that there were illegal investments in the film. It's investigating the alleged payments and the source of funds for this movie. Ashish Maheshwari has more details on this. So a big star in southern India being raided ostensibly for a movie that he funded. And I believe it released about 3 months ago.
So in fact, it was released almost 2.5, 3 months back, but it was a flop. It has not done very good at the box office. But ultimately, what ED is looking at, Zaka, as of now, is the money that has come into the bank accounts of Puri Jagannath as well as Charmi Kaur, and then subsequently payments have been made to stars as well as, if you remember, Mike Tyson also appeared in the movie as well. But ultimately, there was a complaint which was filed by somebody. It was sent to the Enforcement Directorate. They're not looking at the money laundering probe as of now. There is no PMLA case. It's a FEMA Act case, which is basically a civil act, and that is why Vijay Deverakonda was summoned today. He appeared before the Enforcement Directorate. He came somewhere around afternoon, but it was absolutely low profile. In fact, many journalists were not even aware that he was inside the Enforcement Directorate and he was being questioned inside.
Okay.
But ultimately, a source confirmed to us from Enforcement Directorate that he has appeared before the Enforcement Directorate for questioning. But entire questioning is basically happening on a complaint that has been filed before ED about money coming from abroad into the bank accounts of Puri Jagannath as well as Charmi Kaur, and then subsequently to
Ashish, very quickly,
to
I have
other
less than
stars
a
as
minute to
well,
wrap.
where they're-
What does the
yeah.
ED have to say on this sudden splurge of investigations on Bollywood celebrities? We've seen what happened with Jacqueline Fernandez and then Nora Fateh, and now, of course, Vijay Deverakonda. Surely there will be some in the industry, at least, who are thinking that this is some kind of persecution act going on.
No, so it is too, you can't say that, because these cases basically have to stand on their own legs. If a complaint has been filed before the enforcement directorate, they have to look at the source of funding. And in this case, money has come from abroad. Basically, they're looking at whether it is in violation of the RBI guidelines or not, and if laundered money has been used into the funding of this film or not. But there is no PMLA case as of now. It is being investigated under FEMA rules.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Ashish, we'll leave it at that. We'll see how the story plays out. That's a wrap. Thanks very much for tuning in. Anusha joining you with the biggest exclusive.